Hi everyone, Riley here from the Awesome Players Off-Road Motorcycle Club, and as you can see, we are not off-road. This is Calabogie Motorsports Park, about an hour outside of Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and I don't know how many of you have been in this situation, and I don't mean being passed by a CBR 600RR, being ridden by Cousin Charles. Of course, the only thing worse than being passed by a CBR 600 is being passed on a CBR 600 by a guy from Saskatchewan, where they don't even have corners. Or they do, but they're only right angles and they're only every 40 miles. So this is not a very proud moment. Here we are going around the hairpin before we come up on the front straight. And I'll say this, if you've never been to one of these track days, and on this track day, which is called the Advanced Rider Training Day, run by the BMW Club of Ottawa, you certainly do learn a lot, and one thing I learned is that the only thing I'm worse at than riding off-road, apparently, is riding on the road. But anyways, so let's say you've just spent a glorious weekend thrashing your poor 800s, little twin cylinders, around the curvy track at Calabogie, trying to keep up with guys on real bikes, and then you decide you'd like to have a change for something a little more like this. As you can imagine, you're going to need some different tires to go from the track to the trail, and if you're lucky enough to have two sets of rims, then your question is, how do I go from these tires to these tires? You could, of course, change the tires, but if you have a second set of rims, it's going to be a lot easier. When you bought your GS, be it a 1200GS, an 1150GS, an 800GS, whatever GS you bought, of course you knew that it was an on-road as well as an off-road motorcycle, but then the question is, how long does it take to switch between the two? Let's find out, and I'll try to keep up with the narration. So let's go. You get that jack under the bike, get the front wheel off the ground, and of course the first thing we're going to do is loosen up that ABS sensor and get it out of the way. Then we'll undo the brake calipers. Some people say you don't have to. Then it's the pinch bolts. Let's get the pinch bolts loose on both sides. Then we can pull the axle out. Now that wheel's off. Now let's roll in our knobby, make sure the spacer's there, get the axle in, tighten it up. Now let's get those pinch bolts tight on both sides. I write the Newton meters right on the fork so I can see it. There you see it, 19. Let's get the ABS sensor back in. Then of course it's time to get the brakes back on, and that's pretty important because that's what keeps you alive. So we did one side, let's torque it, let's do the other side, and then give the, don't forget to give the brakes a squeeze. Make sure there's pressure in those front brakes. Now I went inside to get a tool for Joe because Joe was also working on his bike, and I lost a whole 3 minutes trying to find a tool for Joe to work on his X challenge. So now the clock is ticking and I ain't working because I'm helping my buddy. Okay, now I'm back on it. So now what am I going to do? I'm going to take the rear wheel off. There goes the bolt. Let's pull the axle out. Oh, I forgot to take the ABS sensor off and push on the brake caliper to give you some space. Now we've got to pull this rocket carrier. Don't forget the monkey nuts. Get him in there. Now this rocket carrier is in, and let's get it in there. I like to stick my foot under the tire to lift it up while I can get the axle in. The axle's in. Don't forget the chain. Oh, put the bolt on. Okay, let's tighten that up to spec. And don't forget to put the ABS sensor back in. Let's got the ABS sensor back in. Pump up the brakes. Okay, what's next? Oh, let's get the skid plate on. Okay, there we go. This is the Moto Overland skid plate and toolbox. Once you've got it set up, it goes on real fast. Here you can see the 4 bolts on the bottom, and then there's 2 bolts on the front. And of course, put your tools back in the tool. There's my inner tube and stuff. Okay, what's next? Okay, let's get the SW Moto side racks back on. These are quick release, so they should go back on real fast. Oh, no, my buddy Mike phoned. Okay, I'm talking to Mike. Mike's a good guy, so I guess I can talk to Mike, and Mike knows how to weld. So I've always got to be nice to Mike, have a sip of coffee. Okay, Mike, come on, I got to get this done, Mike. And come on, Mike. Mike. And Mike is costing me a lot of time. Mike cost me about 5 minutes here. Okay, I'm back. The other rack is on. There we go. Now it's time to put the rear luggage plate back on, and this is also by Moto Overland. Just do the 4 bolts, tighten them up, and it is done. Put my double take mirrors back on. Those goes on real quick. There you go. There's one. There's the other. Done. Now, what's next? Oh, yes, put my tank bag back on. This is a Wolfman tank bag. There's a strap. I like to put a strap around the frame members, one on each side. Pull it nice and tight, stays out of the way when I'm riding. And the last thing to do is put my tool bag on. This has got my air compressor and a bunch of other tools. I like to put 2 straps on the waterproof bag, and then I like to have 2 extra straps so that if I want to strap something on top, I can. And time. So 54 minutes, 31 seconds, minus 3 minutes helping Joe, 5 minutes helping my buddy Mike, for a grand total of 8 minutes of wasted time, puts me at roughly 46 minutes to switch from track day bike to dirt day bike. So I guess that's it, and now we're ready to get back on the dirt where we belong. Once again, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below here on YouTube, or you can head over to awesomeplayers.com, and there you can see our contact information. You can send us an email. You can also buy some of our stickers if you click on the order tab at the top of the website. You can also head over to Facebook, and if you search for Awesome Players, we're easy to find, and there's usually some interesting chatter happening there as well. So once again, thanks for watching.